In the zone, 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 podcast. In the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast. In the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast. In the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast. In the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast. 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 In the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast. In the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast. In the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast. In the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast. 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 In the zone.
Yo, what's that? I'm trying to be false, and it's just not gonna happen. Hey, in the zone, it is your girl Sean Watson, the co-hostess with the mostest, and you will notice that Mr. False is not here. He's too busy being at home, luxuriating on his couch, texting me why the show hasn't started yet. So,
the nerve.
Shout out to Be False. Wish you were here. Not really. But you know, as he said in his live, we are here to talk about, I don't even know if it's an internet sensation. It is just,
it's definitely. It was trending on Twitter today.
It has internet on, I don't know if it's white. I don't know if white internet care about this, but black internet is in a chokehold right now. Talking about Miss Risa Tisa and who the fuck did I marry? So that was a roller coaster. But before we hop into it, I have to intro our guests. We have no virgins today, so I don't have to pop anybody's cherry. But I'll start from my right. You guys have seen her. She's been on here telling men how they ain't shit.
Not all of them, just most. All right.
Just most. That's hilarious.
But yeah, Tahani, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about Risa Tisa and why she did what she did.
Yes,
okay.
we will absolutely get into our theories on that. We'll talk about what our initial thoughts were. We'll get into it. We'll have a whole conversation. And more than that, I want us to dive into, you know, Risa is not
Risa.
Risa, whatever.
Risa. Let's just call her Risa because her name is Risa.
The woman is not an anomaly. She is very much so me and many other women, just not to those depths. But before we hop into that perspective, we also have somebody very famous in our comments, Miss Jen Lee. Hello. It's so funny that she's in the comments so much. Our engineer, who hasn't met her, as soon as she said her name, he was like, oh, I know you from the comments. Which was hilarious to me. Right. And last but most certainly not least, we brought Dr. Angie back.
Hey, y'all.
Maybe for some very educated analytical perspective.
Yeah, no.
Not on this subject.
Not on this one. On this one, I was like, what is happening here? And why am I still watching it? But I can't look away.
Right.
Let's dive into this, right? Because I saw a lot of comments and I questioned a lot of folks telling me who has time to watch all this.
Me.
Obviously, we did.
So.
Shout out to y'all. I want to see everybody's screen time log to see how long you spend on your phone to see and show you have time to do this. But nonetheless, we all watched the entire series. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Saw it in live.
I didn't watch
see the lives.
I didn't watch all the lives.
Admittedly, I did watch about 5 of the lives.
How many lives were there?
It was like 10 lives, and then I watched Legion. I mean, the dude. Then I watched the first wife's son. Admittedly, I've spent
there are
a
lives
lot of
What is
time
happening here, Jen?
on these people.
Oh, goodness.
Wait. Okay, I didn't know the ex-wife, the current wife or the ex-wife?
The ex-wife,
The
wife
previous
number
one.
one. She only
Toya.
talked about her briefly.
Right.
Because that wasn't the one she talked to on the phone. But Toya felt the need to go live and say, since you speak in my name, let me tell you that I'm healed. I've been delivered. And he ain't shit, basically.
Now, I know Legion. Let's not talk
We
about
should probably
him
go
yet.
in order.
Okay.
Let's not.
I mean, we're kind of delving into it, right? But let's kind of talk about our reactions to it, right? We sat and watched 50 10-minute
52.
TikTok.
52.
I was only 50 and I watched it.
I
There were
don't
two
know.
more in there
Yeah, you
somewhere?
missed something. Boo.
Yeah, you missed some of this 52.
Maybe. All right. 50 plus 10-minute segments of this year and a half.
Really? Not a year and a half.
No, it was a year.
Well, it was a year.
was a
like
year?
she
It was a
met
year.
dude in March of 2020. She divorced him in January of 2021.
Yeah.
So not even a year.
And well, 15
And
months.
so I saw a synopsis that said met, moved in, got pregnant, married, divorced, all within less than a year's time.
Yeah.
And I think when you look
Wow.
at it
Story
from
of
that
all
perspective, the amount of time, that's why I was so mad. I was so mad at this girl. Y'all, if she was my friend, I would have shook her.
But she's not alone.
It was a lifetime of just what is happening.
She had a 10-year
in a
relationship.
year, like in a
year.
year.
But by episode 10, I was like, I honestly thought she was going to say, and he died. I was just waiting for her to say, and he died. The Negro did not die
What was he going to die from?
because he lost all the weight. I was like, he has cancer. He's going to die. That's where my brain goes. Sorry. And when he didn't die, and your ass was...
Were you trying to kill him? Is
I
that
really,
what was really happening?
I really...
Well, see, I thought something else was happening.
Ooh. You thought he had HIV?
I thought
See? My
So-
brain is
But see,
I
that's
thought
what
something else was
though.
happening because I texted some of my girls, like in my
Are you
text
going to
circle,
share what you thought was happening?
and I was like, "Is he playing hide the salami with Scott A, the realtor?" And they were like, "Just keep watching," and I was like, "But I can't."
That wouldn't make him lose weight.
And I was like, "But I can't," and I was like, "Is he?" I was like, "Is he okay? We're in Atlanta. Is he gay?
Mm-hmm.
Does he? Is he positive? Like, what is going on here?"
Quite frankly, as much as he lied, I'm surprised he has a penis. That man lied about
No. The first thing I said
Everything.
was, I want some penis good enough for me to move a man in my crib within a month.
You know
Like,
what?
I'm for real. Like, I want... Listen, here
let's
I am.
pause this for a second.
I have a bedroom available.
Because I'm going to assume there's somebody out there that's
Say
like,
you have a bedroom available.
what? Before I hop in, before we continue, right? I just realized we probably have somebody out there that's like,
What the hell is going
what
on?
the fuck are y'all talking about, right? So let me I'm going to
they're
attempt to
under a
give
rock.
a brief synopsis, which is completely impossible as much shit that happened, but I'll try to give a brief synopsis. There was a woman, Risa Tisa, who went on to TikTok and shared her slightly year-long relationship with a man. She chronicled from the time they met till months after they're divorced until he went to jail and chronicled that time.
Adult
And-
jail.
You said-
Weekend jail.
Well, no,
No,
he was
no,
in
the
jail.
other
Jail.
The other jail,
He was
not
in jail
weekend
this
jail.
time.
Okay.
And just the roller coaster of emotions and lies that man did was. Some of them were preposterous. Like, they were literally things I would have never considered lying about. And some of them were pretty standard lies, if we're going to keep it a buck. Right? Like, stuff you like.
Like,
now
name
consider-
a standard one. Because somebody offering a cash offer for $700,000 crib.
That's
Never met that
preposterous.
dude.
That's preposterous. But
Lying on the
but-
telephone every day, like, ha ha ha.
That's crazy.
Now, that's
He said,
crazy.
my brother said hi. Ha ha. Who, like, nothing was.
No, but
I can't think of any normal lies.
But sleeping with a prostitute and lying about that's a fairly common
Sleeping with a
and
prostitute. Wait.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who slept with the prostitute?
The husband.
Peaches, her husband.
When did
He
that
slept with
happen?
Peaches.
Remember,
I met
she
Peaches
went
off
through
of
his
POS.
phone.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I forgot. That was such a
standard lie.
minute
But, and you said it,
detail.
and you said it just like we've known her, like all of our lives. Like, what is Peaches? You know Peaches, the one on POS.
See, to me, that was
What is-
minute in the grand scheme. The
is what
moment
I'm- But it was
that man
important.
showed up with an Altima, after we've been looking at an Audi and a
she bought it.
BMW, no, he paid the down payment.
He paid for the.
So people
Altima.
not listening to the story correctly. I actually missed that part about
See?
her being in the office.
Right, and so eventually he gets her the Altima, and but prior to that, she took off work to sit at home to wait on the delivery of this
Of
this
an Audi
other
truck
car.
that never
It
materialized.
never showed up.
Yo, why didn't she leave at that
Wait,
point?
okay, so wait, we got to back up because she still didn't. We stopped her in the middle of explaining
sorry.
the
Yeah, somebody
background.
asked for the synopsis.
This man literally lied. If you could think of any kind of anything that you normally would talk about during a relationship, family, friends,
Job,
your job, the kind of car you drive,
previous relationship,
who you're talking to on the phone, the man lied. I can't
People
think
who are
of
dead.
one. How people die? He killed people.
He just
he
killed
killed
people
people
randomly,
twice.
right?
He
Double
kept killing
killing
them off
family
with
members,
COVID.
exes.
I was like,
everybody.
you can't think
But
of
you know
no
what? That
other
was
death.
a good one, and I'm going to use that going forward. Like, oh, he died of COVID. He died of COVID.
Oh God, no.
Oh, the Rona guy.
So yeah, and this has the internet in a chokehold. That's actually a good place to start before we dive into our initial thoughts. Why do we think the internet is in such a chokehold?
Because the shit was absurd.
And 52 videos of absurdity.
Absurd. Like there was never a. It was like the plane taking off. The plane took off, and we're all like,
people like to watch a train
we
wreck.
were like, oh, okay. I knew about 3 minutes into maybe video 2 or 3. I was like, oh, this shit ain't regular. It's not regular crazy. This, okay. And then it was just gone. It wasn't even like a plateau. It was just all over the place. And I think that's why people, because it's like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I'm going to be honest. I was sitting there waiting, just like the lady that lied about getting hit in the face with the brick. I was like sitting there waiting for somebody to come out and say, y'all know she lying, right?
Oh, somebody is. It's coming.
Yeah, and I was just like,
Well, Legion did, so there
right.
you
But
go.
I mean,
we
but
can't
but
believe
but you
him.
can't trust the pathological liar.
He's a
like,
sociopath.
right. So I don't think that counts. That endorsement counts. So
throw that out there.
yeah, but it was just so much of ridiculousness, like ingrained into, I think, familiar stuff. Because let's be honest, all of us have done stupid stuff when it's come to relationships, right? But it was the mixture of stupid stuff is here, and then it's this absurd stuff that's attached to this stupid stuff that we all could relate to. And we're like, but how did you get from the regular stupid stuff to this like absurdity, right? And I think that's caused
I also
it.
think that it all made us think about not only the trash relationships that we've been in, but what could drive a woman to go to this level of desperation. And I will tell you, I was at my this morning cooking in my kitchen, cursing men, society, religion, because that's really, it's all of their faults. All of this was like a perfect storm of why black women aren't married. Our black women, I mean, a lot of us want to do the right thing. We want to get married and have children, as opposed to just, if we want to be mothers, just having children. And then the societal pressures of, oh, you know, we have to be married in life. When in reality, a bunch of y'all married bitches are unhappy. I was an unhappily married lady for quite some time. So it's just, it's sad that women, and I think that's what I was really mad.
So do you think what you're saying is that we either saw ourselves or the people around us in this story, even in its absurdity? Because
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I think some men actually lie about some of the shit they lied
A
about.
lot of men do, and in her instance, we all know Arisa. We've all been Risa. Most of
Not
us,
to that
especially not to that extreme. That's debatable. I personally can name 10 women like that, 10 black women like that. Ask me how many of them will admit it. 0.
Right.
When I lived in the South Loop, I had more than a handful of my HF friends, wink, wink, moving these Negroes into their cute condos that their parents were helped pay for. And this has been a pattern with brothers since I was in high school. Like, if we didn't give a boy from the city the keys to our parents' navigator, and or $100 of the $200 or so we got a week from our parents, there was a problem. And the fact that this has not changed and we're now 40 is deep. And a lot of us can relate to that. The same thing that was happening to me in high school. Oh, the chunky chocolate girl ain't got no confidence, so I know I can. If you would have drove Tuki's navigator down Stony Island towards Citibank, he'd have snatched me back to the burbs, and then my mama would have finished me off and beat me to the bayou, right? I had those kind of parents, but they were an anomaly. The other parents, girls were sneaking around. They just needed acceptance. They needed excitement. They wanted to feel like they were
It's
cute.
the
They were
pressure, like
popping.
that whole
And
my
it
man, my
hasn't
man, my man.
changed.
Like
I
I
hate
want
that
women
shit,
to
to be honest.
stop
It has not
feeling the
changed.
pressure.
We gonna
In
get there.
30 years, it hasn't changed.
Let's
But
not
did I-
analyze the women yet outside of Tisa, Risa,
Risa,
whatever.
Tisa.
Let's focus on this first. Then we'll start examining ourselves and
Yeah.
how we
But I was
contribute to this.
Your question, so I was at one point. I got so angry when I was in my group chat, the group text. I was just flaming, and my girls had to bring me back down. They were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" She had a moment of transparency, and if you flame her, like some of them was like, "I was her,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "You know what? Y'all are right. Like I'm hot because I was frustrated with." Why is this still happening? Like, you know what I mean? They were like, and it was triggering. One of them was like, it was triggering for me. Like, because it was shit that I did that, I'm seeing that happen over and over again. We're talking about the magnitude of like the craziness and absurdity. It's kind of like when you say $10 in 1965 is the equivalent of X number of dollars, now, right? I think that our type of crazy and absurdity, when we were going through it would definitely, if we compared it to today's absurdity, it would, on that scale, it would be like out the roof, right?
crazy.
It's just absolutely crazy. And so my sisters checked me and was like, yeah, but how many of us are like that? Like, how many of us have experienced that? And it's like, you know what? You're right. Thanks for humbling me on that. Because I was so angry. Like, I don't even know why I'm hot like this.
I was irritated. Like by episode 10, I'm looking at all these red flags. And I think that's why I wish death on him, because I'm like, okay, he's gonna die. Okay, this is not gonna get worse.
He
He's
should have
gonna
also
die.
died of COVID.
Right, he's
Yeah.
gonna die. Like he has to die. And I could not believe as the episodes went on and on and on and on. Number one, he's not dead. But number two, the preposterous things that she just kept. Even when the man, she would find out he was lying about not going to San Diego State.
That was
You know when I would have been done? When she found out that she was pregnant and they lost that baby, and he told her, I can't go to the hospital with you because I got a meeting.
I have a theory about why he couldn't go. Now that we know everything, he was a forklift driver. He didn't have enough
He could not get off
cachet
work. He
to
couldn't
get off work.
He was
didn't have
an
enough cachet.
hourly employee.
Yes.
You cannot go up in there talking about I'm taking some. Oh, I guess I'm assuming that you have.
I mean, and who
Sick
knows?
leave, whatever, but-
if he's getting
but if he's
fired,
contractor,
I'm sure he's abused his position.
position.
That's why he ended up getting fired, right? But yeah, he could not.
Okay, back to that. Who was the woman that was going to take her to the hospital because he didn't have any sisters, and he kept saying, "My sister's going to go with you."
Well,
what woman was going to go with her?
One of them made up siblings.
The one he was make pretend talking to on the phone. That's what scared me, is that he had a whole
That's the
conversation
sociopath
daily.
part. The
All right.
man is a sociopath.
Since we're digging into that, I have some ridiculous questions, right? What was your favorite lie? And what was the most infuriating part? And just kind of delved into this. What was the most infuriating part
the looking at, so I don't
your
like
favorite lie
my
first.
favorite lie was, my money is in an offshore account and I'm gonna pay for this with cash. And you ask for proof of funds? Absolutely, I'm not showing you proof of funds. Sign the contract and then I'll show you. I mean,
That was some audacity.
audacity of it all. But to keep looking at house after house, I would tell y'all, I hate looking at houses. After about 4 or 5, if I don't pick one, I'm done. She said they looked at 20 to 25 houses.
Was it that many?
Yes. Yes.
And he put in cash offers on 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
I'm so happy that the last realtor was like, nah,
Amber was the real
dog,
MVP.
I need to see
Amber
proof
was
of
a
funds.
Well, no, they also
You
that
said
first,
Amber
the
was what?
first one that fired
She
them
was
was
a
like,
cut
no.
shit, you better than this.
Yeah.
Like,
All right, ma'am.
my favorite lie would probably be the the offshore account. It's a tie between that and the arena football, because once I saw him, nothing.
He was big at first, though.
But he
was a
being
3X.
big, right? As someone who dated like a football player that went pro, I'm like, even the after body looks nothing like Legion, right? And then my dad played football for a minute and his friends. So I just immediately imagined my uncles or the guy I dated from Northwestern. And I was like, and you thought this big Gump McGrump was a footballer.
That's another thing.
Ah.
He didn't look like a VP. He
Honey,
didn't look like a football player.
It's the bump foot on foot, the neck for me. It's the skinny NSYNC Usher back in 04 beard for me. I said nothing about this gives footballer. So it was that, and then of course his attire and everything else. Don't nobody look like that got offshore accounts now. Come on.
But see, we didn't know what he looked like until
Right.
Until
Right.
now.
I think
Because I really thought he was gonna be fine as hell.
I
What made
did.
you think that? I
Because
did
she
not
said
think
he was
that.
attractive.
I
mean,
mean,
he's
Tall. I just thought tall, muscular.
I
cute.
could see why somebody would be. I didn't
Who,
say
him?
me, but I could see it. It makes sense.
Absolutely
No.
not. Not even with my
I'm not
bifocals
looking at him
on.
going,
You could see him being
move
a
into my
footballer.
I could
condo.
see someone being interested in
You
him.
know what?
Yes, I
You're
can.
right. There's somebody for everybody. There's a lid for every pot.
And for what it's worth, y'all, just being out there, I love chunky chocolate. I wouldn't go
Gerald
there.
Levert.
Right,
Come
like
on.
a Gerald Levert or Cedric the Entertainer or something.
That's
Rocks
it.
my boat, right? Nothing about him gives attractive.
Well, wait
to
a minute.
me.
We
So let me
all
give you my
have to
favorite moment.
remember. Then I'll
It
let
all
you go.
gives
We all.
dusty.
I have met a man. I will not say his name because he is very popular in Chicago. Now, when I first met him, I was like, I do not understand how any woman is attracted to this man. I was like, I do not get it. I sat and talked to him for 20 minutes, and I was like, it makes sense now.
And he was ready to move him into her condo.
No, I was not. That would never have happened. He was like 5'1" and looked like a little troll, but his mouth game.
I think I know this guy, and you're
was
right. Every woman is like,
impeccable. I was like, I get it, sir. I get it.
But
Your
he didn't
favorite
even
lie,
have that kind of
ma'am.
person.
I think my
Personality,
favorite
though.
lie was when they were driving on the highway, and she said, "Take me to the building where you work at." And he was like calling the head of
Oh,
security.
stop.
I was
that was
like,
a good one.
That was
because
good. I
that
forgot
required
about
him
that.
to be leading actor, best leading actor, and like best supporting actor in 3 different roles, because he had the head of security,
Willie.
and then
Willie
Will-
was his
Mr.
name.
Willie,
Y'all remember his name?
Mr. Willie, and then he had the other guy. What was it? Justin?
Justin.
Let's see if Justin was
called
there,
off.
right? Who called off? And there was nobody else in the building that could let him in, because his key card would let him in once he's in the building, but not the main door. So that was up
That was
there.
pretty good.
That
now
was
that you think about it.
because he had supporting actor roles. Like he was
Right.
like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And that kind of made sense. If you've ever like worked in the city, I was like, okay, now if I were her, I could believe that,
But I would never also say, "Oh, take me to your job." Like, I could not care less.
Well,
However,
she was doing
I
that
would.
to keep
I would look
finding
like I would have
lies.
Googled him. Like, a vice president is going to come up when you Google, and so is the football player.
But when
That's
he
gonna
also
come
said
up.
that he had the company car, but that's where he kept the company car at the company. Then
No,
we found out.
No. He kept it downtown.
Down.
So it wasn't at the office. It was
So-
halfway between their home and the office.
But here's the thing.
What?
And
What does that mean?
I'm like, that doesn't
It
even
makes
make
sense,
sense. And then when it was like, well, he's a forklift driver, I was like, well, of course your company car would have to be kept where it's kept at, because it's a forklift. You can't just ride that shit up and down the street. Like I don't get it.
I'm just telling y'all, that is some good penis.
It has to
But
be.
he stopped sleeping with her after they got married.
Oh, that's
They
right.
stopped.
Wait,
yes.
Sex.
They stopped having sex.
I don't remember that.
She said that.
She said that. She said, normally they say once you get married, the woman
Oh,
stops.
you're
And
right.
she said, but
you're
he
right.
stopped. And I'm like, oh no, that's a no go. You got to go. You in my house during a pandemic?
All right, we having
you
sex
not-
every
we're
day
having
for
sex.
lunch, for breakfast.
Like, what is happening here?
I don't know. They were all so fantastical. I don't think I could pick just one. The killing people off with COVID.
They were already
stealing
dead.
His brother's life. His twin brother's life.
Never admitted to
That was
even
a fun plot. When she said twin, I was like, wait a minute, hold on now. I'll be right with you, Miss Whitney. Twin? I was like, and then, his mom was a twin too. That threw me off because I'm like,
Oh, I didn't hear the
there are a
part
lot
his
of
mom
twins.
twin too.
Yes. His mother is a twin. And so the aunt that's in Philly is the mother's twin
Oh,
sister.
right. Sure is.
And then the other auntie
Not
is
to be confused
actually
It's
with
her best friend.
Right,
best
not to be
friend,
confused with the best friend auntie.
Right.
Who really wasn't the auntie.
Okay, I do have my favorite
That was
lie.
fun.
The one where he told her that was the church that his parents started. And it turned out
And
to
the
be
brother-
a church that was
Just random.
just random.
Random.
Or when he took her to the gravesite,
right.
that was
Now that was
That
creepy.
was a good one. That he had the nerve to put the gravesite on his ID. That was another rewind moment for me. I was like, his
What do you
ID.
mean he put the gravesite on the
Yeah,
ID?
so his driver's license or whatever, the address
That
on
was the
that
graveyard.
Was the graveyard
Yes.
Right,
that he
right.
worked at. I was
Right,
like,
because the Negro was probably homeless.
do you
when
live
he
in a
got
coffin?
That
Is that
job.
where you sleep?
He probably
Like
was
what?
homeless
Man.
when he got
Or when
that
he did the
job.
screenshot to show the bank statements,
Oh, my
where he
God.
would act like
That
he was
one is
logging in and he would pull
ingenious.
that
first
up.
of all, I was really irritated by that because I'm like, you can kind of see that's a screenshot. She clearly was not paying
No,
attention.
I
on
will
that
tell
one.
you, my son, sorry to out you, Jared, showed me some grades. I mean, I'm not going to scroll up. All I see was the grades, and I'm like, 3.1 this semester. Let's go.
He had it backwards. It was a 1.3.
You go in there to log in to pay the tuition, and you can look at the grades at the same time. And I'm like, this little motherfucker showed me a screenshot. And my dumbass, I mean, first off, I was like, this is ingenious. Who would think to do that? I sent a screenshot to my ex-husband. I'm like, look at what we doing. Got one over here and one. Girl, bye.
You had to call that back and say, so about that, I'm calling it back. Your child.
I would have sent him back a screenshot like, so 3.1, eh?
So what we know now is because a man has never shown me we need to scroll. If somebody shows you their bank stuff, scroll up. Don't just look at
I need to see you
and make
log in.
sure
Right.
that the website and all that is logged in. And
Right.
Wait a minute,
we got to do all that.
Are we thinking that these men are really lying? That kind of lie.
But
Clearly.
they really are. All
Well,
Clearly, there's at least one.
Now, here's an interesting question. Do we think he's an anomaly?
No,
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
God damn.
No.
No.
Jesus Christ.
Okay,
man,
raise your
sorry.
hand if you survived a legion. Maybe more than one.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I've never
Right.
survived.
Not that
Bad.
bad.
Not that, but everybody's had their own
similar
legion, though.
They've
And that's
had
the thing.
A guy that lied to him and put him on,
I don't know.
strung him out.
That's speaking of our own versions of legions. Thank you for the segue. Most appropriately, we need to do some self-reflection, right? We've sat and we've talked about Mr. Legion. I saw his video.
I didn't.
I promise you. I'm gonna say this
It's
before we
the
move
next-
on.
Ain't nothing about looking
He
at that
should
man
have
that I'd be
just
like
stayed
moving.
wherever
he
he
was
was
at.
and just ignore this till it blew over. Because next week we will not be talking about this. But shout out to you, I guess, Angie, because you've talked about this a little bit, and you've talked about your friends. Identifying for you that this is not an anomaly. Shit like this happens. Have you yourself had a lesion?
Absolutely.
And let's talk about Angie's version.
So I think that
We don't have to get no names.
no, I'm
Or
not.
any identifying markers unless y'all want to
Yeah.
go dig them out in the internet.
you
Shout
know,
out to y'all.
Yeah, no, they ain't even worth it. But for me, I can see, like I said, I was like angry. Like, why are you still like? This is just dumb. Like, you're still here, and this dude has shown you time again that he don't mean you no good. Like, his shit ain't even partially based on a true story, a fact. It's just a blatant, outright lie. And I was just angry. I was like, and she's like, this is just dumb. Why is she doing this? And my girl was like, well, I've had a legion. You have a legion. You know, all of us have experienced that, right? And so for me, I had to step back after they were like, yeah. I was like, yeah, you're right. Okay, y'all. Fine. But for me, it was I guess that was like a trigger because it's like you're constantly trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? You're constantly going, okay, this feels a little weird, but I'm gonna give him benefit of the doubt because this other stuff is kind of lining up, right? And so how many times did I do that with not just one person, but multiple people, right? And why are we in a space as women to where we're willing to ignore all of those red, like that sea of red flags that we're around for these few things that are over here that
we'll dig into that later on.
like, so it's just really weird. But that for me, I realize now that was like a trigger because I'm like, I can see that shit. Well, wait a minute. I saw that shit before and I didn't do anything about it. Like I kind of ignored it. I didn't trust myself. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was, I know that was triggering for me, but I also know for other people that I've talked to or that have come up with, they was like, that shit. I haven't talked to one person who watched one or all of them that has not had some type of trigger as far as, damn, that's fucked up. But I've done that. You know what I mean? So I just think that for me, it was the constant, but these other things are okay. This feels a little weird, but I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt, right? And so that never pans out. And then you're coming back and you were like, I shouldn't have gave. Like, it ain't even worth it. It wasn't worth it. So
I will share my lesion story. Then we just going to go around here. So dated somebody now. As you guys see, I assume you guys imagine I'm rather smart, but at 20-year-old Chantel, not so smart. Mm-hmm. So I dated a guy who said he bought me a car. I forgot why he wanted to do that. I was like, whatever. Mm-hmm. He actually showed me the car in somebody's garage. It was brand new. You could tell it was brand new car. And I was like, oh shit, this man actually bought me a car. And I why would he do that is beyond me, but cool. Mm-hmm. Obviously, making the long story much shorter, I never received said car. Never heard anything else about that car. Not a word, not a peep, not a whisper. We probably dated another 6 or 7 months after that. And I will say for me, he wasn't, I would say this, that was probably the biggest lie he told. He also said he was giving me an engagement ring. I didn't want to get married, so I was paying that shit dust anyway. So I was like, whatever. But looking back, I wonder, I wish I could ask him now, like, what was the point of that lie?
He was like Legion. He wanted to see you joy. He wanted to see you, your joy in receiving this gift.
No.
Only for you not to receive it.
Thinking back on who he was, thinking back on who he was, so he had a bit of competition. I had somebody else in my life that I had feelings for that I cared about. And I think what he was trying to do was trying to woo me
on his
from
side.
That person with material things. And if you knew anything about me, that was not going to cut the mustard. So I think that's what he was overall trying to do. Or maybe he was a psychopath who just wanted to see me happy.
I don't know.
And the rest of come under me. I don't.
Right, but I think for Legion, I like to think for Legion, it wasn't because he felt so inadequate in his space. That's why he was using his brother's life as his life. He felt so inadequate in his space of where he couldn't do anything right. Because think about it, his family was like, he ain't shit. He ain't got no job. We don't talk to him. We don't mess with him.
He wasn't shit.
You know,
and didn't fuck with him.
Right, and didn't mess with him. And so him doing those things to see her have joy, because he probably didn't see joy coming from his people, right? Not excusing the fact he didn't kill some relatives over and over again over a 10-year span with COVID. But yeah, I think that it was him being able to see somebody have joy because he hasn't been in that space with the other folks that are around, because all of them are like, he ain't shit and we don't fuck with him.
So are you saying that, I'm just trying to make sure I'm following. Are you saying that he promised her those things in an effort to feel worthy on some level? Like he was providing her a life?
I kind of feel like for him it's like a high.
Oh, so it really wasn't about
that's the
tricking
definition
her.
of sociopath.
Yeah, like it was a high for him.
Was a sociopath.
Well, are you saying the high came from being able to say, I will do this, or making her happy and then pulling her? Because that's what people are saying, that he enjoyed the excitement and then pulling a rug from under her. That's what people are saying he enjoyed. Are you saying he more enjoyed?
I don't know if he enjoyed pulling the rug from under her. I don't think he was that intelligent to do it.
I don't think
like
so
I know
either.
I'm for real. Like I don't think that
some fucking elaborate ass
yeah,
lies.
but he
was clever.
He was clever, but that doesn't being clever does not mean intelligent, right? So I think that he really was. It was something that was a high. He was chasing that acceptance, and that happy. What he saw in that acceptance was her. Like, man, my man is taking me over to Paris. We going to London. But you can't get a passport because you've been in adult weekend jail. Like, what is happening here? You can't do that.
I didn't know that at the time.
Well, I mean, but now we know.
I have never heard of weekend jail.
I know somebody that did weekend jail.
No, so I made a Facebook post about
yes,
it. It is a thing.
It is a thing.
A very snip-snappity South Suburban friend of ours did weekend jail. And I was like, so what do? You check, like, literally, you're allowed to be free, and then you have to do the 48 hours.
That is the way to do jail. Like, if I'm going to go to jail, send me on a weekend. I go in on Friday night.
No, it's not pretty.
With my homies, leave on Sunday.
Right, no. You're still in jail. You're still in jail.
At least it's a 3-day stint over a period.
This person, I want to say that I almost busted out their gender, but they refused the community service, right? So you could have had community service, just cleaned up I-57.
But
no, you had to push it, which kind of lends to Legion. Like sometimes people just enjoy taking it too far. Like I'm gonna see, because there's a slight chance I might be able to pull this mess off, right?
But impersonating the police,
that person in weekend jail, that landed Legion,
right? Which also leads to one of my honorable mention lies that I appreciate.
Oh, that you have an honorable
yeah,
mention?
when he was like, I respect police officers. My dad was a police officer.
Right.
And then he tried to impersonate an officer using his dad's badge. And I was like, where did that seem like a good idea? Because you already know you're going to go to jail. Like, what is happening
here?
If
we get the honorary mentions, I appreciated when she called him in the San Diego state lie. And he said, oh, you wouldn't find my records because
I'm a private citizen.
I didn't get that. I was like, wait, what?
The fuck?
I texted my girls. I said, did this?
Because I was like, aren't we all private citizens?
I said, did this nigga just claim his free state as a Moor?
I'm
just
appreciative
confused
of the way lies just rolled off his. Because it would take me a minute to come up with something like that. Like, I would have to practice, think about it. What makes you think he did
I would mess that up and stutter so badly.
I'm free. I'm free. My father paid for me to be free.
Citizen. Like,
what?
Raise your hand if you Googled, like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
that was me. I was like, okay, so are we all private citizens of the United States?
He said that, I was like,
again,
you're in education, so that.
This man would have gotten out right then
I was so
and
lost with
there.
that one, too. That was a good one. Because it made me Google some stuff, because I was like, I thought everybody is a private citizen, but maybe not. Okay.
And here's an example of how Legion was so successful, because he confused the shit out of somebody who
That wasn't confusing.
Like, I was like, what is happening here?
So lost. I was slightly confused, and then I was embarrassed that I was confused.
That's what I'm saying. That's some good penis, y'all. Legion, holler at your girl.
But he wouldn't get none. He was giving it to Peaches from Penley of Fish.
She was getting the memory of the good penis.
Dude, maybe I know we were supposed to be talking about ourselves, but I gotta ask this question. Do you think maybe that's why he stopped fucking her? Because he was fucking the prostitute?
No. Well, Guinea ain't that intelligent.
What man you know don't have multiple sex
often.
partners? And yes, I said that out loud. Or is happy with just, I mean, come
I
on.
was just throwing out a hypothesis.
But that prostitute probably did suck the shit out of his dick. And then that makes your little at-home dick not good enough.
We can't compete with a prostitute. At least I can't.
My thing is, how did he get to the prostitute and the knee was wonky? That
And we never found out what was wrong
with his knee. Like, there are things that I need answers to.
And she said in the live that she never knew. Like, why? Like, that.
He wouldn't go to the hospital, so yeah, you not gonna know.
We listen. You laying up in the bed, wasting away. Now you skinny, your knee jacked up.
With the Powerade bottles.
Girl.
I did see a theory where somebody said they thought that was syphilis, because syphilis apparently, and I am not an MD. I do not know this stuff. But syphilis can show itself in various forms, and they thought that maybe it was possibly. But y'all, I don't know.
Syphilis makes you crazy too.
It does. If it goes untreated.
And
maybe that's really the problem.
Right. Died from.
Yep.
Maybe this was all a reaction to untreated syphilis.
You know what?
And of course, she wouldn't acknowledge that because then she would admit that she's been exposed.
She's exposed to it.
So, but she would probably get treated.
Yeah, but that's curable. It's not like
curable.
HIV.
Like I'm saying, she would get treated.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right, we gotta
keep
go
going
back to
with
analyze ourselves
Yeah,
now.
our own versions of.
So
genes.
I
Your
will say
legion.
this for me. I mean, I was married for a long time, so I thankfully have never had a legion. What I saw, I think that what irritated me is just what irritates me every day with women and their strong desire to be married and not realizing that, you know, marriage can be good, but can also be very bad. I mean, I've dated some nothing ass dudes, but none of them would I say are pathological liars. I talk about Broke Boo today on my Facebook page. Shout out to Broke Boo.
You like
he was
you
a
call him
level,
that to his face?
No, of course not. He was a
Hope he doesn't
level
watch
of
the podcast.
broke that I mean, he don't know what I'm talking about. I could have had more than one Broke Boo, but I would say for him, he wasn't a liar. He was just in a desperate financial situation and thought that because we were dating that I should help him. And I was like, yeah, no, dog. I was legally still married at the time. And I was like, so, you know, this man is paying my mortgage. You want me to give you? Like, no. Nah. So, thankfully, I've never had a pathological liar. Let me knock on wood. But, again, Legion, I want to try you out. Give me, reach out.
I don't even see how that would last for you.
It would. The moment Legion started talking.
It's a good time. That's
right.
all
No,
she's
the
looking
moment
for.
Legion started
time for the fun
talking,
time.
my vagina's gonna go want. Like, especially I'm gonna be like, Lisa, so you a private citizen? What does that mean for us? Like, what can we or can we not do? Are we filing taxes? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
No, it just keeps you from finding their school records,
Right.
apparently. All right, Legion. What's your
Thankfully.
Legion? Did you have one?
I did. So I had a male and a female legion. Didn't date the female, but she dated a bunch of male friends I know. This girl we grew up with in the church, and I won't say her name, but we had a big Facebook group, whatever. She lied about being in a sorority, graduating Spelman. She was a serial con artist. She told us that she had an emotional breakdown and went to this, like, I don't know, meditation thing in Sedona. There was a policeman that was sweet on me on the time, looked her up, found out that she was in boot camp somewhere.
Like what kind of boot
Like
camp?
boot camp,
like
jail boot camp.
boot camp.
Oh.
So she had
Oh,
gotten
see, I didn't know that
convicted
was
of a
a thing.
crime.
Yeah, it is.
And like she literally stole all of her identity. She worked at a temp agency.
She was an identity thiever
yeah,
too?
and yeah, but when I say had like the jacket, the letters, the license plates of the sorority,
out there. We have a whole
like
Facebook
it was
group
so deep. And then my one friend that went to Spelman was like, I never saw her any Spellhouse, anything. And I had known them both since I was a little kid. But I'm like, well, I mean, we all kind of lost touch because we went to colleges, wherever. But yeah, she went that deep into it. The biggest lie she told once we started the Facebook group, she was going to be a bottle girl. So she had finessed her way with the credit cards, goes to Vegas, moves her cousin from Madison, Illinois to Vegas. She gets caught up. She can't pull off the fraud, getting the money. She leaves her cousin, her blood cousin, in Vegas. And the girl that she was staying with is like, look, I found you guys' Facebook group. She's out here near the left coast. I will give this girl a plane ticket, but she got to get out my condo. And like the con artist girl that we all knew from church, she just, once she got caught up in her lies, she evaporated. One of her lies, a sister from Philly, her initials are AC. But she moved in with a
Shout out to
military
AC.
wife who had new twins. She stole the baby twins' identity and went
Oh.
crazy on the East Coast. I mean, that's how perverse.
I
And what
thought you were
makes
going
it
to say she stole the
interesting-
baby. I was going to say,
no,
dear God.
she stole their identity, and that
Okay.
lady is like, she moves into the house, gets caught up, can't get the money, and she just evaporates. She leaves everything she bought on bad credit cards. Why did I see her in Batter and Berries?
Just
Out
sitting
in the
there
south
chilling?
suburbs. She has a kid now. It took everything in me not to go ham and bacon bits. And I was like, you know what? You look a little worse for wear, and I guess it's all kind of caught up with you. And what blew our minds, the policeman that liked me was like, she got caught with several credit cards and several IDs and matched the credit cards. So it was her face, all these different names and stuff. And I'm like, but that's not enough to go to jail? Like, these people that are out here, you know, car cracking, they do that. That's one. So yeah, that happened, and she dated some
She
pretty
didn't go to jail for that?
No. The worst thing that happened to her was that boot camp when she told her she was in Sedona
was
meditating,
jail.
getting her mind right. But that was kind of jail adjacent, right? It was jailish. But my dating life, I dated a brother that was in the military and really was. He came back to Chicago, kidnapped his son from Virginia, right? And he was on the down low. There's this app, and this is something everybody should know. As long as you have the 2 devices, like I have my phone and one of y'all's phone, you got to put the app on both phones. But then I can control your phone, look at your phone, and everything from my Apple device. His want to be ex-wife. Now he swore the ex-wife wouldn't divorce him. Blah blah blah.
Wait, pause. Is that like an app? Because I may need.
Yeah,
to
it
get
is
that.
an app.
Man,
My niece.
focus.
What's the app?
Focus.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
And
I've heard of this.
she saw me and she's like, look, I've been trying to contact anybody that's dating him. He's a fraud. He's also gay. I hope you're protected, this and that. And like, this is a proof. And when she showed, she's like, nobody believes that I can see his screen from my phone. But, you know, when he got to really getting crazy and deep into his lies, my nephew showed me how to put the app. I said, I believe you because my niece had it on her iPad. And then she had text messages and stuff popping up on my phone. It's like, hi, Auntie Honey. And I'm like, huh? How are you doing this? You know, then she was, you know, so I said, I believe that app because a couple of months ago, my niece had it on my phone and her iPad. And she's like, yeah, but when I say went that far, like it was a bunch of them. They had a church on the south side. And he is just, hey, girl, hey, on North Halsted, had me watching his son. Y'all know I used to be a SPED teacher. The boy was autistic, so that's how he got me in. He specifically sought out someone with lower confidence that loved special babies because he knew, hey, when I want to go up there and flip it, smip it, rub it down, top it up, bottom it, she'll watch my baby up here. I think we were in Grand Lakes or something by Great America. And he would be doing Great Lakes,
I
right.
used to live out there.
We were doing all, you know, I'm doing the baby, watching him. And I'm like, okay, you just not going to come home? So then I'm carting this little boy around like he's my kid because he wants to be wild and crazy. And like, once that wanting to be ex-wife, she's like, stay as far away from it. You know, the only reason I haven't like accused him of the kidnapping and stuff is I don't want to lose my military benefits. And like, if we go through all that, you know, it's a mess. And, you know, he's still in the service up there. I'm still in the service here in Virginia. But like, and she showed me all these texts. She's been begging him, like, let's just divorce amicably, split what we can, figure out how this works in the service. And he would not do it. And when I say I was like, like, is this my real life? So that's why I could relate to her because I dated him for about 6 months. And I was just like, oh no. I said, this is too deep for me. You know, like you took it to another level. And she's like, yeah, he went here. He was at, you know, Machine this, or he was at Tops and Bottoms on, and all these clubs are rainbow clubs. So I said, what?
So
Yeah.
shout out to
Craziness.
Clarence because he provoked a question for me reading his comments, right?
What did he say?
And well, first of all, he kept saying how stupid she was, like she's a fucking idiot, blah blah blah, right? But I think it's important for men to know
An idiot though.
why he didn't say it in the comments. He said it like in posts.
Yeah.
I see Jake kind of search for it. I think it's important since we have our male viewers and they're probably here hoping that we would tear her down, but unfortunately they're not getting that today, right?
Not today.
It's to analyze why are we believing these lies, right? Why are because she at one point says in the video, like, I just chose to believe the lie, right? Why are we knowingly, and that's me included, I just shared a story about the dude with the car and I just was like, fuck it, whatever, dude.
Or me with broke dude. No.
Right. You just
broke.
You just posted about.
Why are we willing to overlook these lies to have this relationship? And I would venture to guess, and you've been married, that there were lies that were told to you that you knew were lies and you were just like,
I won't say lies. I would say definitely treatment. Like I wasn't treated well. And I think, again, that as little girls, we grow up wanting to be wives and mothers, a lot of us. And here I am, you know, living the dream. So the fact that I wasn't happy was secondary to the fact that, you know, my children were thriving and on the outside, you know, things looked wonderful. And I think that's the part that was triggering for me is I know that I stayed married probably 5 to 7 years. I mean, I remember thinking back pregnant with my son, like, I'm pregnant. Why am I pregnant by this nigga? Like, I don't even like him. But then, you know, things change and you start to like, you know, things get better or whatever in relationships. But I think what the revelation that I've had since my divorce is how happy I am now, and it doesn't matter if I have a man in my life or not, and I'm so intent on holding my independence that when I think about some man moving into my house or some man telling me do this, do that. You know, I get these bonuses. I don't want to talk to you about them. They mine. I'm spending them. That scares me to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to play around until something changes my mind. And so I think in her, I saw the desperation that many of us felt in wanting to be somebody's wife or somebody's more important. And what I said to Chantel on the phone was, I was like, you know what, if I got a flat and a man popped up and was like, my tires are $500, you show up, fix my tire, and then buy me a tire, I am going to be impressed. Not impressed enough to move your ass in
after a couple of weeks.
Not impressed with that.
Impressed, like, this man is here for me, because one of the things about being single is, you know, things like that I have to handle on my own. So to see some man step up and then, okay, you gonna pay my bills? And so that's why I jokingly said to my friend, I was like, she was like, he paid all of her bills. I said, well, she had some cheap ass bills. He couldn't pay all of my bills.
There's no way he was a forklift driver.
Right.
But
her bills, her car, and her rent, like, it may have been $1,600 a month or something like that. So she don't have no real bills. I got for real grown lady bills. So the man, again, Legion,
why you trying to play her
if you could come over here and pay these bills,
$2,000?
my son's rent is $1,000 a month. So I think that's the biggest thing of wanting and believing. Like she said, that it was her turn.
That's what I was going to say. So she said she just wanted it to be her turn.
How many women do we know? I mean, I've seen my friends, and I just be like, bitch, he ain't it. But they're like, this is my turn. Like, we want the fairy tale. And that's really, like, it makes me mad, because that's what I want to shake women and say, had a fairy tale by yourself. Shit.
Girl, like, that's hard. For some women, not me.
You can't have sex. You just ain't got to buy into all that other shit.
And I was going to say that she mentioned why. She gave us her why. Like, she was raised in the church. She was shacking with this dude that she had met online, like, after a couple of weeks during a pandemic. You know what I mean? And then she wanted it to be her turn. She's like, I just really wanted it to be my turn. Like, I just really want. And for women, for some women,
I'm meant to be alone.
you know, it's like,
Don't say that.
She said people aren't meant to be alone.
yeah, well, you know, but humans are meant to be communal. We're supposed to be in relationship. Like,
Yeah, we have relationships.
Yeah,
We have
but-
friends.
But here's the thing.
but she wanted it to be her turn, and I get, like, I get it, because you're like,
Especially after you fix that flat. No, I'm just joking.
I mean,
That
But
flat
I would
was
like
sealed the deal
to
for.
speak to that. It's so, and everyone thinks I'm just like playing about this, but it's so rare for brothers to be gentlemen now. So I think that really did something for her, like you said, cutting best
I
friend
would have been
Jen.
impressed.
Because I
would not
remember
have
a
been
girl,
impressed with that.
you know what I mean?
are
On
smart.
James, her tire
No,
was
I'm not, but
flat.
that ain't it.
You think Brian Foster changing a flat? No offense, Brian. I love you. Eric Tillman
No
changing a
offense,
flat.
but all the
No, they're
fits.
going to be like, let me call AAA for you.
Yeah.
And that is equally as good, guys.
But genuinely, behavior is so rare. So it's like when a brother opens it, I'm like, you didn't let the door close on me.
Donnie, that's where I'm
Thank you.
I'm going to push back on that, because black men open the door for me all the time.
I would agree.
I would say these
It's a
white
50-50.
men, no offense, Jake, these white motherfuckers. What they got to do
He's
with
really
it?
sweet and has
Jake
a
is
laugh.
like,
Jake
oh
like,
God, why am
the
I
white men,
here?
and when they do it, I'm looking at them like, but
They
no,
do
black
what?
men don't open the door, but black men open the door for me all the time. I won't say that I don't believe that black men. I know the black men can be gentlemen. All of my friends, my brothers are gentlemen. I just think the chivalry part and somebody willing to come in, because one of the things that kind of made me slow down on dating was men constantly acting like we wanted them for their money. And so the fact that this man was willing to go into his pocket and buy a tire and then pay all the bills, that is impressive. Moving to my crib, impressive? No. But
Depending on my
impressive.
bills part, I was definitely impressed and said, oh, shit.
Right. Because now I just get my paycheck to do my
But see,
hair.
that's the thing. Most sisters will never experience that.
Yes.
And that's why I was like, I'm meant to be alone, because through work or through my family, I've experienced some very nice things that I know there's a slim to never chance that this will come at the hands
I
of a
will
black
not
man.
say that to honey. Even my
Like-
ex-husband, who wasn't nice, paid all the bills.
But I mean, but he wasn't nice. You know, that's what I mean. So it's like,
Can't have them
You
both.
can't have everything.
you know,
But I think it's
so
Sam, you are nice
Sisters-
today. I love you so much.
sisters don't get that. So if you're like, whoa, because a lot of sisters. I know Valentine's Day came around. You've been humping on this man for over a year. You couldn't get a flower. I got flowers, kids. This, that, and the third. Right,
Yeah,
and that's just because I'm
chop your head off. That's what my mother would say.
People say that
He's gonna chop your head off.
But
and
black
chop your
women
butt.
are the most likely to get killed, assaulted, all the things. I don't want to get the video flagged. That happens to us most. And who are we in close proximity with? Our peers.
Why you let her start? Why you let her?
But I'm saying
But
that
I think,
on that jack.
Right, but Tahani, you said something earlier when you were
we
like,
don't experience that.
right,
like
you
this.
said something earlier about like the self-esteem thing, right? And I think that that's a huge thing that we don't talk about, because in order to talk about it, then we have to acknowledge when it's there and when it's not, right? And what that ugly part of us looks like when it's not there. And then that makes us, depending on who you acknowledge it to and around, that makes us even more vulnerable. People who are like, "Hey, you behaved this way."
Brian.
Wait, what did
Brian said, I'll read the comment. This is from B Falls. Shout out to B Falls. Allie called me when we first started dating on Lower Wacker with a flat. I put my 7 and 4-year-old in the car and came and changed her tire. Screw you, Jen.
but what you said too is what
It makes
I
us
think
vulnerable.
Tahani and I are often talking about when I co-sign what she says in the group, because we had daddies. I believe your self-esteem comes from your father, and that's one of the things that Risa never talked about her father. She talked about her mother, but she never talked about her father. Daddy would have been like, that motherfucker is not moving into your crib in a month. Like that's just not happening, corona or not. So I think a lot of that would have stopped if she would have had an active father in her life. But the reason why so much of that was acceptable, I think, is because of her self-esteem, like you said. And I think that like self-esteem, I believe, comes from, I mean, everybody in my house told me I was pretty my whole life. There's no one on this earth that can tell me I'm not pretty. When I had 2 parents and 4 other siblings telling me every day, you're so pretty, you're so pretty. And that you just, even if you're not, which I am, but you start believing it.
I want to push back on that one part about her moving him in. Okay, I want us to all be responsible that in 2020 we all had partially lost our minds and we were all doing some bullshit at that time because we were scared. We were about to die from a virus we knew nothing about.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Isolated.
I give everybody a pass for whatever weird shit they did in 2020.
No, for real.
Because we were all batshit crazy. Go.
But going back to, you were saying having a strong father figure, right? I know women who came from a 2-parent household whose father was there, and they still had the self-esteem of the bottom of my shoe.
I say good father. He just can't beat it.
Right. I mean, but
He's got to be present, engaging.
but even that, I think that
Real.
there are so many other things societally
drive us, yeah.
that drive us, right? So you can have an engaged and good father, however we're defining good. That definition is going to vary by person, right?
Right.
But if you have all of these other things these other voices that are in your head and in your ear,
Right.
no matter how much that person balances, or your parents balance that out, or your families balance that out, you're still competing with that. And so I still go back to admitting that we have insecurities in some of those low self-esteem moments makes us super vulnerable, right? And it also puts us in a space where we can become prey to folks, folk who don't mean shit.
Right.
Somebody's been abused, and you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna tap into that. I'm gonna say these things to get, you know what I mean? So I think we have to be aware of. It's just a whole bunch of stuff, right?
I think it's important to dig into that, right? You don't even being abused verbally, physically, sexually in your life can be a factor. But I also think, and I'm saying this because I'm very conscious of this with my daughter, we all have to be responsible of the messaging we give kids, right? Like, I'm very clear when I grew up that I would hear how it's important to get married. It's important to have a man. You got to have a man. You got to look this way to have a man. You got to keep your hair up. You got to wear your makeup because you got to get a man. And if I don't care how good your mother and father are, they could be Michelle and Barack Obama, but if their constant messaging in the house is you have to have a man, your value is in the man, your value is in your children.
I've thought about that recently, how I would say to my daughter all the time when she was in investment banking, when she was at Cornell, and even in this space at Harvard, like, don't leave there without a husband. You're around them 6-figure men, don't leave there without a husband. And
You
now
part of the problem.
I'm part of the problem.
You, ma'am, are the
like,
issue.
I admit it now, and when I think about it, number one, there's too much pressure. I mean, even though she is around all these good, successful black men, it's a lot of pressure that I should not. And Samari Gilbert, I apologize to you. You do not have to graduate from Harvard with a man because you don't need a man to complete you. You are complete. I never should have put those pressures or said those things, but I think that I was probably putting on some of my own crap onto my daughter. And I believe that's where it all stems from, is everybody believing that life happens. You go to college, you get married, you have kids, you buy a house, you buy 2 houses, That's why people are in debt, all trying to keep up with that whole. And I think we all have to do better with the setting expectations, because I want you to be happy, not married and unhappy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
think with
also
her, too, she grew up in. Remember, she mentioned she grew up in the project.
She did.
What is that
I missed that part. Maybe that was the episode that one and two that I missed.
She did.
She
I don't
mentioned
remember
that.
hearing
So
that.
what does that
Grew
look
up in the
like?
project.
Yeah, because she was talking. She even explained, like, she was reflective on that when she was like,
Yes.
"I grew up in the projects. I didn't have money. We came from this space, and so I had this man who was doing these things
that
for
she
me
never-
that she had never experienced. So when the bar is set at a
Tired.
to hell.
no, like at a survival mode, right?
You one of the main
Right,
ones impressing the
it's
damn
not surviving.
tiger.
Like her bar was not even set at thriving. It was literally survival, because how many times did she mention that she wanted that X5, the X5, the X5? And I was like, girl, you ain't getting the X5.
And why wasn't she thinking? Because another thing I would think of as a woman, we are never buying $700,000 X5 Audi. And then let's say you leave me and I can't afford any of this crap. Like, why was she never thinking I can't
She
afford
did
this
acknowledge
on
that.
my
She
own?
She
acknowledged
reflected
that.
on that later.
She did that.
She did say
she
that
said,
later.
she would never. She had put herself in a situation where she couldn't afford the stuff that she had if it wasn't, if he wasn't
Right.
involved
I never,
in it.
ever. And that's also a telltale sign. But that's something that I have shared with my daughter. Like, I don't want you to ever be in a space where you are dependent on a man for anything. Like, he is a compliment to you, not a completion of you, and especially financially.
And Tahani was getting ready to say something.
Yeah, I
think
was.
cut her off.
He exploited the fact that he knew the 2-parent dynamic so well and how rare that is. And like, I don't care what Chris says, what 123 Google me, charts he puts up.
Chris
Chris
Levy. Shout out to Chris the critic.
2-parent households, husbands doing for wives is a rarity with us, and we all, me included. That's what when I did want to be married and have a kid, that's what I wanted. Now I know better, right? But back then, that's what I wanted.
Girl, you're around baseball players and shit. You can still have it.
I would be fine.
Speaking of which, ask me how many times I'm ever around other black women in those spaces. Next to never. I'm the only American black woman everywhere I go, right?
Because of who they choose to marry. Don't try to blame us for that.
Right. It ain't our fault, but I was saying, I think he exploited that because he, as batshit crazy as he was, he still grew up with a mom and dad that were together. The dad did not have outside kids.
And the dad wasn't really a preacher, right?
They had
he
a
wasn't.
dynamic.
He was an
I think
alcoholic.
He said his dad, the brother was like,
was an
our dad was
alcoholic.
far from it. Was
Oh,
like,
okay.
but one of the things that she also mentioned when you were talking about the 2-parent household was that I lost my train of thought that quickly. She was talking about the 2-parent household and how he came to her and she said, "Why did you do this to me?"
I was just thinking
She
that.
was like, "Why did you do this to me?" He said, "Because I knew that if I didn't marry you in under a year, that you were gonna leave."
Which says more about him than it does about her, quite frankly.
And I always say, and I said this to Chantel too, that I'm always telling my friends to slow down. There's no need to rush into living together, whatever, all these things that you want. Because you will see crazy if you go slow enough, if there's some crazy to be seen. And I want women to slow down, take their time, and make sure that this is the person that you want in your life.
I know we were gonna do the end of the show. Basketball players, baseball players ain't black nowadays.
A lot of them are
They're
not. They
they're
look like
from the Caribbean.
No, they're from Dominican.
They're from
Right.
the Caribbean. That's fine. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Because they don't think they black. Like, Dominicans can't stand their skin color, i.e. Sammy Sosa. Like, them Cubans, they
he's
definitely
great
ain't
now.
claiming they black. So, yeah, no, they definitely not fooling with a black chick.
It's so weird. Most don't think they're black, and then it's the other opposite where they're like super black with dreads. And I was like, there's nobody that's just regular and normal in the middle, like me.
Right.
Like
I'm
y'all
sure
are
they're there.
all,
Y'all
like,
just-
over
you might
here,
just
way
think-
over there.
Okay, so
weird.
one messy
Sidebar.
question. One messy question. I'm gonna start with Angie since she sighed so hard. And then we're gonna start wrapping up. Does this story prove that women really just want to be lied to? I said the question was messy, did I not?
Boo!
really was
Question.
not expecting that to
Right,
come
that's
out your
real
mouth.
messy.
Welcome to In the Zone
Well,
podcast.
Welcome, welcome.
That is dreadful.
I don't think so. Like, I don't feel like that means that women just really want to be lied to, right? I think what it really means for me, and when I was been in those situations, it was, you're making a decision with more information than you're allowing me to have, and you're making a decision about that's going to impact me that I don't have any say in. So it's not a matter of we want to be lied to. For me, it is a matter of, I don't want you making some decision and moving forward, and I'm sitting here over here thinking this, and you're doing and thinking this because you got this other piece of information that you're just not sharing. But in this instance, he was literally a pathological liar. Like,
sure was.
we joke around and say, "Oh, they're a pathological liar." No,
he was clinically.
If you looked it up, this dude was literally a pathological liar. But I don't think it's a matter of wanting to be lied to. We want to be, I think, protected and valued.
Heine, is this proving that we want to be lied to?
Absolutely not. It proves that there is a desire for Black women to be loved and taken care of. And when she said where she worked, I could relate to that. When I worked in that school, seeing all these women that lacked melanin getting all the things that we couldn't get as sisters, it broke me a little bit. Like, we wanted that. We were going to brunch with each other as teachers, right? And they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Chris picked the worst restaurant." I was like, do you not realize that most of the teachers and aides and everything else, we ain't had a guy pick a restaurant in months? And you mad that he picked one place that you didn't like? Like, and that's what this proved. Like, when we get a little piece of a little piece of provision, it's like, we want it so bad, we will fool ourselves into just going along to get along, because who knows when the opportunity will pop up again.
Tiny, we're going to do a dating show for you because
Right.
No.
I need this not to be
My
a
standards
story.
are way too high for the overwhelming majority of brothers, but
All right, your turn.
I don't even know what I can say after that.
Y'all clutched your pearls.
Right.
Like,
I honestly did.
like I asked y'all what a
I
cervix looked like.
I don't think that. I love what she said about, because one of the things I say, in order for me to be married again, I have to feel valued and cherished. And if I don't feel like I'm being cherished, valued, respected, then I can't do it. And I think that there's no way that I would accept lies or want to be lied to feel that way. I want you to genuinely show me those things. And if you can't, just keep it moving. But I also am not like holding my breath for those things. Thankfully, and thankfully, I've checked some boxes. I've been married. I have kids. So I'm a little bit more patient, enjoying myself. But it's sad to me that I know that women out there just want to check the box, and they're willing to suffer in order to do it. And that's where we have to start. I think being one of the things she said too, that we didn't get to talk about, was the isolation. She didn't share what was going on with her mother, with her aunt. And so when I thought about it, how many times have we dealt with some bullshit and did not share it out of, I want to keep my business to myself, or embarrassment.
You don't want to embarrass yourself or him.
And all of that.
And that's another thing I think that we have to, that's one of the things I love about that group, Are We Dating the Same Dude? Because it puts it out there, like, you look at this motherfucker, like, are you dating him? And so I think that that's one of the things that we have to stop doing. Let's stop isolating ourselves.
Do I think women want to be lied to? No, the hell we are not. I would not say this is a reflection of women wanting to be lied to. What I will say is this is a reflection that our tolerance level is too high in order to maintain a relationship, right?
We gotta snap on
I
that
think
one.
I think we just will tolerate. I don't even know if I want to call what he did bad
Do you wanna
behavior,
say
right?
tolerate, or do we do better at choosing our battles?
No, it's tolerate.
it's
No, it's to
tolerate.
tolerate. Right?
Tolerate.
I think there is I think in a relationship you have to choose your battles, right? And that's why I asked the question about a lie. Like, you have a choice in the matter. If it's a lie that's inconsequential, are you going to really, like, Like, I'm gonna take the
I
garbage
don't really
out
care
in
that
an
you
hour.
went to-
I'm
you didn't go
like,
to San Diego State. You're a vice president.
I would like, what else
With
are you
an
lying about?
offshore account.
Right. I mean, I don't have an offshore account.
If you're doing an inconsequential lie, like, I don't know, I put gas in your tank and I get in the car and ain't no gas. I'm going to make a choice in the matter. Like, am I about to sit and argue with him, or am I just going to like let this roll? And that is what you're talking about. Her tolerance level of the type of shit he was putting her through was way too high, and I think all of us suffer from that. Maybe not
absolutely.
currently, but
Like if we used to make a list, that's the one right there.
yeah, we just have such a
Tolerating
fucking
too much,
just
dumb
too
shit.
much. And I think that's, to me, that's why there was such a visceral reaction on the interwebs, because women were like, "Oh shit, I thought about Tyrone and how."
How like
let him get
but
away
now
with
I'm
so
mad. I was unmad. Now I'm mad again, and it's been X number of years.
Just
yeah.
remembering how we tolerated stuff. So if anything, I would really advise us, like, I think it's important to know what you will and will not accept, because you're gonna have to accept something in a relationship, right? No man is perfect.
That's the part that our friend Tahani
No
has.
woman is
I
perfect.
won't.
Right. She's like, I'm perfect and you have to be too.
No. And that's a Virgo on me, I guess. But like my tolerance level is so low now. And then people always like, oh, you've only dated. I've dated some like dope brothers that I'll admit I was not ready for, like financially, emotionally, spiritually, right? That was like in my 20s. But at about 30, once I got a taste of the good life on I was like, coffee dates, why? When we could go to happy
Not the
hour.
coffee dates, Lord.
No,
have
not
mercy.
coffee dates.
That's a
Oh,
whole nother show.
Move into
Don't
my house.
do it.
Why? I don't have to tolerate anything like this because I know my worth now. And so I will not call you back ever again because you said something I didn't like, or you cut your pancakes in a triangle instead of a square.
Girl, I'm gonna need you. Wait a minute.
Wait,
Now,
what?
look,
I don't
No,
know.
don't do it. Don't. Go on.
But then ask me how many sisters I know like me that are really firm in their boundaries. I don't know any, because everyone's like, oh, I could kind of live with him. You know, I let
but
him
the
slide
pancakes
on
in a
this.
triangle.
I could do this.
I feel like you
could
can slide
and I'm
on that.
You don't
Yeah, you
have
can slide
to.
on the pancakes.
You make enough money, you're beautiful enough, you're cute enough, we can go eat. You gonna let this nigga dog you out for a plate? No. You know, but most sisters will.
We go this summer. I got you. We
I promise you.
working.
I'm
But
about
I
to
don't,
drag
when
it.
I say I don't tie, and I'm not like, old me used to be mean and combative and loud. I just literally won't answer the phone anymore. There's no text more. There's no anything. And because brothers are used to sisters tolerating more, they're like, you have the unmitigated gall to like really stand on me planning a date. Okay, well now fine, I'll take you somewhere. It's not about eating fancy food. It's about you showing me that I'm worth the effort.
that you've taken the time.
I don't care
to come
about
up
the
with something.
dollar amount. I care about the effort that you made. But a lot of sisters like, well, I just want a warm body next to me. Loneliness is a hell of a topic
That's another thing.
She was
Loneliness,
lonely.
Which is why she moved him
isolation,
in.
not right.
Even
And
sharing
during
this,
Corona,
it screams she's lonely.
maybe.
Even in making a 50
That's why I told you everybody lost their mind during
She is
2020.
lonely. She is very lonely right now.
Right.
Because ain't nobody that's rocking and popping and feeling loved got the time to put 50 episodes, 10 minutes long out there.
You know what? I'll push back on that, because I think I
This can be
appreciated.
cathartic to do something.
I
Like
appreciated that she put that out there, right? To Jen's earlier point, we sit around suffering in silence, you know, walking around when we all collectively have gone through very similar things. And I think it is important for us to start opening our mouths and talking about it, right? And talking about how we got out of it, how we solutioned it, how we got through it. What are we doing to continue the relationship? Whatever those pieces are, we have got to stop pretending like the shit ain't happening and our relationships are perfect.
Right, that's not to be confused with. I'm glad that she shared.
She got that out.
But and I wish more, because I mean I'm the only one that'll like keep it funky, I feel like, and be like, no, that ain't cool and you ain't got to do it, right? But like I said, I know so many more people that keep it in. But just the act of it itself, I'm saying, is a very lonely thing to do.
Okay.
But like I'm glad she did it.
I
and
mean,
I'm
at
happy
one
she
point,
got
I
it
felt
off
like
her
she was in a car
chest.
for about 6 hours.
But
With that roller thing in it?
yes.
What is that thing in her?
Oh, that's the little the
The foam thingy, you can do the curls instead of
Yeah,
doing
you
individual
curl
curl
it,
curls.
and
wigs
then
and
it'll make your hair curly, and then you'll
Yeah.
wake up
No.
and it just be all these loose
Curls,
faucet
yeah.
curls.
Really?
Yes.
You just pull it up from the top. Yeah.
Yes.
It works. Even for short hair.
I don't even have hair for that. That's all right. First of all,
Right.
thank you, ladies, for coming. We're gonna wrap up now because we done talked about Legion, and I didn't know the the ex-wife and the kid.
The first
came
one.
out.
You gotta look
The
at her
first
videos.
one.
That's what I was.
I'm gonna have to go find. I don't have
Tonight on
TikTok,
the
so
way,
I am
yeah.
absolutely not going on TikTok. So shout out to YouTube because that's the only reason I even saw all of this crap. But what are our major takeaways coming out of this? Right, like what are you going to? What pieces can you utilize for yourself and other women coming out of this episodic?
I think that I want to say to my friends, and I know it's hard because, you know, we're all in the throes of dating in some capacity. I want to say to my friends, do not suffer in silence. Are you really happy? If not, please feel free to share openly, because when I think about it, you know, I jokingly talk about the nicknames I give dudes. I do that to protect myself because I don't want to say, Chantel, I'm dating so-and-so, and you'd be like, oh, I fucked him, da-da-da. But I think, or I'm fucking him now. It's really protecting him the way that we're isolating ourselves.
Yes.
And I think that we have to do a better job in opening our mouths and sharing. I mean, I was probably miserably married, I don't know, for 7-8 years, and I never told a soul.
It's okay to say no. Like, it is okay to love you enough to not settle and to not tolerate BS. And I see that, and like I mentioned, you know, just now, loneliness is like something that shouldn't be underestimated. It's why we have an uptick in suicide rates, why we have these gender wars, why we have all of these wild issues within our community. And it's like, let's just get back to talking about it, to being honest, and to making an effort to love. Like, in the midst of all my craziness and sharing what I say, it's like, because I want you to step up and move with love. I want you to appreciate this woman enough to make an effort for her. If you're going to spend $20 at Starbucks, you could get that $5 wine at the little Mariano. Starbucks. Yeah. You could get that little wine at the Mariano's bar or the little sushi shop. You can get you a whole roll and a glass of wine for $11.
Cheap date, fellas.
$11.
She just gave y'all an idea.
And there's a place on
Instead of your
Franklin that
stupid
plays
little-
number old school hip hop. It's real cute.
Study a little
But y'all don't
coffee
take it that
dates.
far. But you can use that same smartphone to disparage black women, to hurt their feelings, to make sure that they're so low that you can camp out on the couch instead of providing for them. So if you do nothing else, make the effort, move with love, and talk about it without trying to protect somebody because of how it looks.
That's actually a very good point, Dewan. Major takeaways. What are you taking away from this story? Or what do you want other women to take away from this story?
That it is okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's okay to not be okay, right? And that you have to really, I just wish that I have some pretty dope female friends, like some really dope, like, and I have different circles, and I can bring those circles together, and their dopeness is like, is beyond words, right? And so I wish that people, I wish that women were okay with not being okay, and being vulnerable enough to say, I'm not okay. But I know that that's a hard thing to do.
Very difficult.
Because we've talked about dudes that take advantage of those vulnerabilities, right? Like, in a way that you're just like, what the fuck is wrong? Something is wrong with you that you're willing to not only do it, but then to say out loud what it is that you're doing, right? And so my wish is for women to be able to say, you know what, I'm not okay. I think that was one of the takeaways that I got from her, where she was like, some of this is hard and I'm not okay with it. I thought y'all don't understand, you coming at me, but I'm reliving this stuff, right? Setting up those boundaries, and then also being okay with exploring who you are. Like we talk about, good 2-parent home, as opposed to, I don't like the term good and bad, right? Because it just really sounds like a deficiency, right? But I just really want it to be okay for you to say that this is what I came from, and not be embarrassed about that, right? And understand that you can use that to actually find the strength that you need to be the person that you want to become. So
I think if anything, Actually, I have something for the men too, because I think they be kind of missing the point of these exercises. But I would, for women, I want us to start.
Look at Eric Young.
I know.
And see, this is why Chantel has to say what she's about to say. Because Eric Young has missed the whole fucking point.
So I'm going to start with women and then I'm going to get to men.
What did he say?
He said, why did this become a woman's anthem?
There you go. How did this TikTok story become a woman's anthem when her ass moved in with dude in 30 days? Nobody just called her a dummy and found something else to do with those 3.5 hours. All right, so I'm gonna get to you in a second, Eric, right?
Yeah.
For women, I want us, more than anything, I want us to start finding value in the things that are already in our life, right? Mm-hmm. I want us to stop putting the value in the shit that ain't there. If the kid ain't there, if the man ain't there, not saying they aren't lovely and wonderful, but you have done so much with your life. If you've built a good community for yourself, you need to focus on that and be proud of that, and really start looking at a man, to Jen's point, as a compliment and not a necessity to feel value in life, right? We got to start finding value in our other aspects of life, our friendships, our community, right? Yes. We could combat a lot of this loneliness if we understood that the people around us are. Somebody said earlier in the comments that we're not meant to be alone. You're absolutely correct, but not being alone does not mean you have to be fucking the person that you're in community with. We are meant to be around other people and have relationships with other people, and fucking them does not make the relationship more valuable. So we have got to get to a point where we stop making that be the ultimate relationship and everybody else is just there for a good time, not a long time, right? Because I will say that my friends have been in my life longer than any man has, and I've gotten so much from all of them. So
I jokingly say when me and Chantel and Keisha go on trips, like, we solve the world's fucking problems. Like, we come back like the United States is fixed.
And I will say this for men, because there is a takeaway for y'all. I think it's more specifically black men, because obviously the black people are all enamored. I think you all miss what, how do I want to say this? I think you all are so committed to this idea of black women being strong and being impenetrable and all this other stuff that you all do not get that we are not. Right. We have to be strong. We have to be angry sometimes. We have to be all these things. And then you hear these stories and they show you how soft we actually are, how much support we actually need. And I would encourage you all to take the opportunity to listen to this, because she is all of us. She's not special in this regard. She's not especially stupid. We've all been in stupid. We've all done shit that at the end of the day, we look dumb for. And if you don't get that for anything, that's your biggest takeaway. We're all fucking dumb. And if you're honest with yourself, you've made a bitch look dumb too.
And you've been dumb. Wait, no, you've been dumb. You've been dumb, and you made a bitch look dumb.
So let's all stop playing like, there's some kind of special something. Like, there's something for all of us to get. And I want, I've taken a lot of time these last 2 years to really get in the heads of men and understand that you guys, there's a lot missing on the man side as far as what they want from black women and what they need from black women. I want you all to take that same position with us. And it would solve a lot of the discourse that we see on social media. Now that I've got,
I agree.
Getting off my motherfucking,
I love that.
Getting off my motherfucking soapbox.
Yes.
We will see you all next week. Thank you, lovely ladies. Unless you identify as something else, I apologize. But thank you, lovely ladies, for coming and hanging out with me.
Anytime.
Anytime.
Well, no, let me bring that back. I forgot who I was talking to. You're welcome.
Right, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll be back.
We're going to come back and talk about things we've done. I think we definitely could talk about how we've been stupid in relationships.
Oh, my God. I could start spending the next 4 hours talking about that. Right. We will be back next week. Perhaps B. False will grace us with his presence next week. And we will come back with another good topic. Thank you guys for joining. We'll talk later. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
And his own podcast. And his own podcast. And his own podcast. And his own podcast. And his own